Over the years, since we've known you, you have been an embodiment of trust. When people hear your name, people who are associated with you are comfortable. And that is one of the reasons why we've been able to, or one of the reasons why we felt that there was a need to have you here with us to share this special day of the surplus. Can you tell us, in Nigeria today, one of the difficult things that we face is the ethical dilemma of running any business. We know the challenges we face as a country. Based on your years of experience, how are you able to manage the ethical dilemma and run a business successfully?
Thank you very much. Honestly, matters of ethics in business is a clear choice that we make. You decide if you want to be ethical or not. When I teach a lot of young people, I always say to them, sit down and decide what your values will be. Decide the values you want to die by and the values that you want to fight for. And you should always do it before you get to a crossroad. Because when you get to a crossroad, the pressure and the challenges of the crossroad will make it difficult for you, push you in one direction or the other. Now, what you've done, or what Tukur as a model helps you to do, is to decide in advance what the values are. Now, the reality is, even though you have defined values, what I have found that it always then comes back to the people. Because values are like laws. They're written down as the things you subscribe to. However, laws remain as letter. What brings it to life are people. It's in how people choose to practice. So for me as a person, I made certain decisions earlier on in life. I started my first business at 25 going on 26. And as a young woman who was starting a business in an environment that had a number of compromises available, I made two choices. I was never going to sleep with a man to get a job, nor was I ever going to pay a bribe. And people laughed. It's like, an idealistic young woman, you can't go far with those principles, especially because I was starting a manufacturing business in furniture, and I would need to get furniture contracts from companies. And you know how those things are. There are always deals behind the scene. But I made that choice based on how I was raised and the values I decided I wanted. And this wasn't even, at the point I made those choices, I hadn't even become a Christian. I was a young Muslim girl that was raised with certain values. And when I became a Christian, all that happened is between my upbringing and my faith that I was raised with and the faith that I then decided on, the values entrenched my determination to live that way. And what happens is, once you have made a clear choice, when you get to the situations that challenge those values, you don't have to think afresh. You do not have to start thinking, oh, should I do this, should I not? No. You made the decision earlier. What you're then doing is fighting to do what you said you will do. And that's what's been my experience. Yes, does it make your life easier? No. Sometimes, as my younger sister, I remember the day I was appointed to join the board of First Park, my younger sister, one of my sisters, said to me, she said, I always thought you like to make your own life difficult. That's who doesn't look for easy options to do things. But you will just insist you must do things a certain way. Why? But now I look at your life and how things have worked out for you, and I realize that, you know what? It was worth you sticking to your God. So values and ethics in life or in business is about choices. It's really that you guys decide as an organization, this is who we are. And if you're driven by just profit, even though you have it on the letter that this is what Takaful is, you will do some things to manage it, especially when you have a permissive environment like Nigeria can be. So it's the individual's choice, which is why the people you employ, your management team, your board, they're key. If you have a board of hungry people, they will compromise with management. And management always has the check of the organization. They can compromise your board very easily by making sure that they're well taken care of. And then in a permissive environment, things will be diverted and the wrong culture will be built. So it's really that the individuals within the organization and the vision of the ethics of the organization is sold clearly and then is exhibited by example by the lives of those who lead. Because you can't tell people to do something different from what they see you do. It's like telling our children, you can't drink, but every time they see daddy with a bottle and something beside, they'll just laugh at you and drink behind. I hope that helps.
It absolutely helps. And the reason why we need to ask that question, because we face this more and more. Do you think this ethical dilemma is getting easier or is it getting tougher?
If I'm being honest, it's not getting easier. That is the truth. However, you don't live your life based on what other people do. I don't care if 10,000 other people choose to do the wrong things. It is what have you decided to do? What values have you decided to live by? They say tiny drops of water makes the mighty ocean. I can be responsible for my action, but I'm not responsible for another person's action. All you want to do is, even if you guys as an organization or as a community are a small oasis of righteousness, so to speak, then it's fine. Why? Because as long as we have seeds of goodness, you will soon... Let me explain this way. One of the things I've found in my journey in corporate life, apart from being an entrepreneur for 36 years, is no matter what they tell you an organization is, if you get there and you start doing the right things, you would see more people who intend to do the right thing come out of the woods. Because normally what happens, if they think this is the culture, everybody keeps quiet and they just follow. When they see a leader or people who show them the right way or who are committed by example to doing the right thing, you will see more people follow. So in that environment, leadership is important. The culture of permissiveness is what we must eradicate. We must make the necessary investment to build one at a time. You must, as an organization, invest in educating those that work for you. Don't assume that just because they work in your organization, they understand your value system. That would be a mistake. And that's for any organization. If you want to affect the culture of an organization, leadership must be at the core of showing the example, and then leadership must live it, communicate it clearly, and support ensuring that others. Now, the larger society has its own challenges, but we have our own responsibility, and they're two different things. So what you are accountable for is what you are responsible for. The part that is yours, do it well. What my experience has shown me is you will find there are many more people like you who want to do the right thing. And because you're doing the right thing, you will find those that join hands with you to build it. Now, something to pay attention to is this younger generation, they're quite desiring of a society that works. And they're very idealistic and they want things to work better. So, even though we say the environment is not working, it's not easier in terms of values, if for the sake of the fact that 70% of Nigeria is made up of young people, if there are even 10% of Nigerians who seek to do the right thing, you will influence that younger generation and hopefully rebuild the society for the right thing. But is it going to be easy? No. We're going to keep fighting for it until we get it right. And anyway, even at the end, every person in every society is imperfect. So we will always have to deal with those challenges.
Thank you. I'm glad you talked about if the leaders and leadership shows the way people will come out of the woods. And it's something that we, at the board level, at No Takaful, No Health, it is not an issue at all. This is something that they've always tried to cascade down. And I always say the problem is probably from management and how we are going to cascade it down. One of the key issues today is technology. Do you think technology will make trust, ethics, responsibility easier? Or will it, especially now with AI coming in, do you think this is going to be an enabler for more corrupt practices, more negative things across? What is your view, and how can we use technology to improve ourselves as human beings?
Okay, there are two sides to it. There's the fact that technology removes a lot of human intervention. And the point of corruption a lot of times is the human intervention. So if we build a technology system that is based on the principles and the values that we believe in, and we build a technology end to end that removes that interference that can introduce corruption, then we can hope to eliminate to a large extent. But there are other kind of risks that technology itself introduces. And even though those risks are there, they're mitigants. For every digital risk, there are digital solutions to protect and to prevent to the best that you can. Okay? So it's really about what we set the technology to do for us. Okay? There's no rent seeking if I don't need to interfere with any man. If I get on a computer and the system, I can book a premium digitally. I can request, if I have any accident or any claim, I can make a claim process digitally. And the efficiency of time is digitally programmed into my system. I'm not waiting for the favor of somebody. Nobody needs to put my file in their drawer and ask me for something in order to make it happen. Nobody needs to miscalculate what I need to be charged as punitive if I'm not paying. The system will digitally ensure that I get the right numbers and that I get it in the right time. Now, that's fine. However, what you will also realize sometimes is, as any of us would have experienced sometimes, when you're talking to AI systems, sometimes you want to break it up because it's annoying, it's irritating, it has no point, it doesn't have those nuances. Something is not exactly as we have defined it. If I have any variation of what has been programmed, I want to talk to a human being. So personally, I hate talking to the machine because half the time they annoy me. They're like, so when I pick the phone, it's like, call British Airways or something, and you're talking about something that is asking you a lot of these silly questions. I refuse to answer until it gets to, and if you have not chosen any option, just wait for an agent. I'll just wait because I know that it's going to waste my time if something, but that's about how we program it. Because don't forget, the machine gives you what you give it. It's what you put into it that brings out. So it's our responsibility to make the right investment, to use technology to achieve efficiency and to remove a lot of arbitrage that brings corruption. Because it's the point of arbitrage that people create corruption. So if we can reduce the number of human intervention, then we hope that we can digitally reduce corruption, bring better efficiency, but also gain the trust of the people to the best that we can.
Thank you. And I think removing the human aspect is critical. And I'll give an example. When we were filing for our tax this year, what we just did was we used our tax consultants to calculate our tax. And they just said, you know what, just go and put it on Tax Pro Max.
Okay.
And if it's correct, you'll be able to get your tax clearance certificate.
Yeah.
And in all fairness, we didn't have to call anybody at FIRS, and we're able to get our tax certificate without making a call. And it actually encouraged us as an organization to ensure that, look, let's just do the right thing.
Yeah.
Let's not need to call anybody. But I always think about my father as well, and he's always thinking, I don't want to talk to any machine. All right? He struggles when he travels now, and he's like, oh God, everything now, you go into a store, you don't talk to anybody, there's nobody at the aisle to assist you.
You have to go and pay yourself.
You have to pay yourself.
I hate that too.
You know, the main reason, there are two reasons why we're here, but the main reason is surplus distribution, which you've talked about, which you've highlighted. What advice would you give a Nutrakafu to use this surplus, which it has been doing consistently since it started operations in 2017, to include or increase financial inclusion, and then so that the financial services can actually be trusted, because a lot of people have lost confidence in the whole financial system, not just locally, globally as well. What kind of talks would you like to give the Takaful operators, Nutrakafu? We also have a regulator here. We've also said that, look, sometimes regulators are there to guide us, to protect the investors and the policyholders. But what other advice can you give us here today?
I think that, first and foremost, the thing that you do the most is gain the trust of your investors, your clients, by keeping your word every time. Obviously, their contract guaranteed that when you have this surplus, they would get a share of it, which is what you do every time. And if you have done it transparently, openly, the books and the numbers are available, they're certified by the auditors, the regulators have signed off on it because they know it to be correct. And based on whatever the promise is that you have made to your policyholders, you're returning to them in an equitable manner what is theirs. What you do by doing that consistently is gain trust. Now, how is trust rewarded? When there's trust, people trust you with more, because then they can see that you will keep your word, which is the biggest thing that you do. But they also become your PR machine, because every single person that benefits can tell someone else. When one person is complaining about their own insurance experience on one side, somebody else can say, look, why don't you try this? This is my experience on this side. And, you know, I always say that one satisfied customer is worth more than 10 million in advertisement, because they're speaking from their own experience. And your advert is thrown to the wind. It can land anywhere. So you have that. But you also have to educate. It is really critical that you educate. There's nothing that says that on a day like this, you do not have a team outside that interviews for your database real customers and who have received returns consistently over time or have tried it for the first time, and create a bank of customers who are satisfied with their experiences and the return. And you let them become the voices that speak to others. And you share the principle and the values, because you also want to be able to reach a wide population of Nigerians, no matter their religious belief. It means that you must also pay attention to how you make that communication. You're clear about the values that the organization offers, the value that it returns, and then you bring out the value system behind it, so that there's no door shut against you just because, oh, I'm not a Muslim, they don't expect me. You know, that's not what it is. It is no corporate organization carries. I remember when First Bank was 125 years old, I was chair at the point, and I desired that, look, if God has preserved an organization for 125 years, you should go back to God and say thank you. no matter what. There were people who had the opinion that it's a corporate organization, it shouldn't have anything like that. Well, we're human beings that work and run the corporate organization, and we understand that God makes things possible. So we cannot be bashful of being able to walk even in our faith where the business is concerned. So I remember what we did then was the MD that served under me was a Muslim, or is a Muslim, and so they had a service on a Friday, and he led all of that with directors who were Muslims. And then we had a church service that was for the organization as well, for the 125th anniversary, and all of staff and team and directors who were Christians and our customers also went to that. There's a place where our faith becomes a strength for our organization because it drives our value system. However, the institution is guided by the principles of its commitment and its regulatory rules by which it has been permitted to operate. So I think you have a lot of things to work with. You have a lot of ways you're an alternative to traditional, because the key element is the return, the share of profit. The equitability of your industry is so much more clearer than most of the rest of the financial services industry. If I were in your shoes, that would be my message to capitalize on. But it's about how you communicate it and how you take it to the rest of the world.
Thank you very much, Madam. Would open up to one or two questions. However, just to buttress on what you have said, in our first year of operation, 2017, at the end of 2017, come January, we wrote 273 million naira. And immediately people started calling us, where's my surplus? Where's my surplus? And even us, we're still trying to understand the surplus process. We had to go through actuarial validation, board approval, and finally regulatory approval. So it actually took us some time for us to get there, to distribute surplus. So it was a challenge when we're unable to distribute it immediately. Even though we eventually did it, we did struggle, and people actually did lose faith in us. But eventually, when we did pay that first or distribute that first surplus, we gained the trust and confidence. And that is why today we've been able to grow our business from 273 million in first year to over 13 billion naira today. And I have to say this, with very, very limited public sector business. We have decided as an organization we would have as limited public sector business. I think it probably accounts for less than 5%. And so that gives us the confidence that people who come to us actually want value for their money. I don't know if there are any questions from the audience, one or two questions. We are running out of time.
I like it when the house is quiet until the first question is asked.
Thank you very much. I respect you, my professional colleagues. My name is Tukur. I'm the president of the Professional Insurance Ladies Association, as well as the managing director of Pix Trust. I really don't have a question as such, but I would have a comment. And the comment is this. I see that in the market, there isn't so much of a focus of educating people as to the return on investments on the Taka full insurance. More often than not, people see it as an Islamic insurance. Now, Islamic or not, money is money. The dollar bill is green. It doesn't have Christianity on one part and Islam on the other side. So I would want to say that a lot more focus in terms of education and also in terms of enlightenment, I think would be the word, on the return on investment and the way and manner in which you actually get your surplus. Because your surplus is not based on your own personal input alone. Your surplus is based on that particular portfolio having a surplus at the end of that financial year. So I think that should be the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma. I think I think we've taken note of that. The team at Notakafu, the managing director, the team, we would partly address that in today's session. Thank you.
The other lady.
Thank you very much. My name is Zainab Abdurrahman, and it's not a question. I just want to find out from Mrs. Awosika, based on your interaction with us and your knowledge of the industry, and probably being part of what's happening here today, I just want to find out from you, how can you help in terms of helping us to spread the message? And I think being here today and identifying with us is a way to also help spread the message. But I want to know what you would want to do personally in order to help us in that regard. Thank you.
You want to employ me as your PR manager?
Sorry, ma, just to add a little context, Haji Abdurrahman is the chairperson of Jais Takaful. Jais Takaful is, we don't compete in Takaful, we collaborate and we partner. We commenced business about the same time, and she's here to support the Takaful space as well. Thank you.
Okay. Well, look, the thing is, once you identify what needs to be done, there are people who are skilled and empowered to know what the messaging needs to be. And especially when you're building a new industry, you need to build from ground up. 2, you need to find a whole new space of people who can benefit from what this represents. And you know, the best group of people who follow ideas that return value, but also represents equity are young people. So don't think that just because it's insurance, you're looking for the big ticket. I had the privilege to serve for 2 years on the advisory board of Binance at the global level. And Binance is crypto. I didn't even know anything about crypto when I joined the advisory board for Binance. They headhunted me and 12 of us from around the world, 11 of us from around the world that served on their advisory board to guide them in their transition from a blockchain system into the financial services industry. I decided to leave after a while for my own personal reasons. Now, one of the things I learned from that is when you are driving a new sector, it's important that you understand the key fundamental differences and the enablers. I don't think most people realize how many Nigerians are on crypto platforms. I was shocked as they presented data to us in doing that work to realize that we're the 3rd largest player in the world. Yes, the number of Nigerians on that one single platform is more than what many banks have. But why did they go there? Trust. The challenge was a breach of trust and transparency between people and the financial services sector, and a lack of full trust in even the regulatory system, and even worse, a lack of trust of the financial system. Who were those driving it? A lot of young people. Think if 70% of our population is under 40, we always assume they don't have a lot of money. It's a lie. Collectively, there's huge amount of capital asset within that age group, because they do a lot of work that you don't see. Many of them work virtually internationally. They're earning income in foreign exchange and in Naira across multiple climes that you can't account for. They sit in their room from morning to night. You think they're loafing around. They're not. They're doing content creation. You think they're not making money. They're getting paid. But they look for a system that they trust. Now, what you have with the Takaful model is a product of trust and a product of equity. What you need to do is, how do you communicate that to a generation? It's like, I've been on the board of Cadbury for almost 12 years. Tom Tom looks to you like the suite of old people, doesn't it? I didn't respect the Tom Tom until I joined the board of Cadbury. And I saw that black and white thing controls billions, multiple billions of naira in a year. It's a seriously high value product. However, I watched them do a generational change of who the customer for Tom Tom is. And it was about the right positioning, the right influencers, the right voices, and a campaign. And effectively, it became something that was multi-generational. So what you have will speak to that generation because they like equity, they like trust. And if you combine that with digital platforms, you give them a means to ensure, because already the biggest challenge that traditional insurance industry has is they don't trust it. They assume that every time they're going to make a claim, they're going to have to jump over the house and a mountain to be able to get their return. And two, they have to have a contribution to it. So it's a different model from what you offer. Is you live, you know what she said, which I'd said earlier about religion. You're an organization based on a value from your faith. But once you become a corporate organization, the religion is on the side. The product and the value with which it's run is what you're selling. There are multiple organizations in the world that were formed from the Catholic Church and a lot of Christian organizations. But you deal with them, but you don't see the religion. I went to a business school in Spain. I proudly serve on the board of that business school, IESE Business School. It's top 5 business school in the world for executive education. But guess what? It's an Opus Dei owned institution. It's a section of the Catholic Church that's responsible for founding the school. If you enter every classroom in IESE, there's a cross. But it's a global institution that has everybody from everywhere. My son just graduated from the MBA class in May, and there were 350 kids from every part of the world, parents of every faith and every tribe. They are proudly supporting their children. I had the honor of being the graduation speaker at the graduation. But it was easy to see, but they don't hide it, but it's not on the name of the organization. But it drives the values with which the school, and that was part of the attraction for me, because they're focused on teaching you how to do well, but also do good, and do it with the right values. So they teach values as a major part of their education. So it's you finding the right phrase, the right communication, and positioning what you do from the Takaful ecosystem, positioning it right, and finding the right voices, and keeping your word. I think you will totally turn insurance upside down. Thank you.
Of no Takaful and Takaful. Thank you very much, Mrs. Awosika. We're here to distribute surplus. We'd like to take this opportunity to assist us in presenting a symbolic check to one of our participants who will be receiving surplus today.
I also like to lucky participant.
Sorry?
I said lucky participant.